Being a champion does take time and consistency, but winning the most recognized trophy in club football seems very difficult for Manchester City. Here on Sportyfied, we will dissect the chances of Pep Guardiola winning the Champions League this season. My name is Bankole Abdulaziz, and on this special edition, the focus is definitely going to be on Manchester City's gaffer, Pep Guardiola. I won't be doing this alone. Joining me dissecting his chances of actually lifting that illustrious Champions League trophy is going to be the one and only Aviero.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm very much proud to be here.
Alright, we don't get this kind of opportunity to actually wax really cool about Guardiola. So once we have this opportunity, I just want to give me briefly his stint at Manchester City. How would you rate Pep Guardiola's career at Manchester City so far?
At Manchester City, because of the Champions League, he hasn't won, despite the big players and everything. He's a good coach, but to me, I feel like he's a very fraudulent coach. So if I'm to rate him out of 10, I'll probably rate him 4 or 3. The caliber of players, the caliber of players Guardiola signs and everything, there shouldn't be excuse. I don't actually do rate the guy like that. Even
really?
In Barcelona, the only person that helped in that time was Messi. Up till now, he's still even fantasizing over Messi. He's still finding Messi currently. If he gets Messi, he believes he can win the Champions League. With all the caliber of player he has, cannot still even win Champions. How do you bottle a 3-1 lead in the Champions League semi-finals? How do you bottle a 3-1 lead to as in, like, I don't even understand. You bottled it and the other team later won you 4-3 at 89 minutes. How do you bottle that kind of victory? And all that woeful Champions League performances and everything. So he's just a league merchant. And sometimes you winning league titles does not have to do with you being spectacular, and you can actually even lose all your top games and still win the league, because there are many matches to be played. You get players who get tired, you have enough players, you can rotate the squad. Your second team can actually destroy someone else's first team. That's big for you. You have players and everybody. But in the Champions League, you've played it for how many seasons now? 5 seasons. You've not won any. So I believe all of his performances and everything, I don't believe in them, because he has the players, and Manchester City has the money. What's the difference between Manchester City before and Manchester City of now? There's no more difference. They've always been looking for the Champions League. And they brought in Pep Guardiola. Pep Guardiola didn't give them the Champions League. Before Pep Guardiola came, in 3 years, they won the Premier League twice. So it's something that even if Pep Guardiola is not actually their manager, if they have a better manager, obviously Man City used to release money for players and everybody, they can still win the league 4 times in 5 years. They can still win the league 3 times in 4 years. They can still win the league 2 times in 3 years without Pep Guardiola. What do Manchester City fans want? What do they want? Champions League. And Guardiola is not giving it to them. So I feel like all of his performances are just, I actually don't really rate him like that.
Wow.
Quite weird, Abby.
All I can say is wow. Aviero is the Gary Neville of Sportyfied. The way he destroyed Guardiola, any neutral or somebody that doesn't really know Pep Guardiola watching this interview will think Guardiola is a fraudulent coach, as you have said. Well, let's go back memory lane. We all know he has actually bottled so many chances of winning this Champions League. He's been in Manchester City for a good amount of years now, and for the manager, his caliber should at least be boasting of at least 2 Champions League trophies, but he has none in his cabinet, and the story continues. So, as I've said earlier, I want to go back down memory lane. Let's go back to the Champions League final against Chelsea. We saw that starting lineup that evening, and what everybody was saying was that, why are you not going to use a recognized number 9 in the Champions League final against Manchester City? There was a little bit of some faultiness in his midfield. I can't really recollect, but I know that there were some shambolic, how will I put it now, actions he took, like decisions he made, some shambolic decisions he made in that final that actually cost him. Now brings me to the question that, do you think Pep Guardiola overthinks that? There's some basic thing he has to do, but because of his overthinking, his over tactical awareness or his tactical approach is actually making him fail to win the Champions League.
I feel like, yes, Guardiola, people do say many things, yes, ask many questions. Okay, why won't you get a number 9? Okay, why don't you do this? Okay, why don't you do that? Why don't you do this? But everybody will just forget all of a sudden that yes, he's a manager, he should lose matches. Guardiola without a top 9 destroyed the team about 7-0. I feel like Guardiola doesn't even need a top 9 to score goals.
Oh, that's the champion. No disrespect to the Premier League.
Both Premier League and champion. That's like his tactics. That's like his tactics. That's how he plays. He uses a 9. He does not use a 9. He still gets his goals. His tactics just failed against Chelsea. Don't forget, before the Champions final, they already played about 2 times.
Yeah, and he lost both. If I'm not mistaken.
Yes, and he lost both. They said one. He played one defensive midfielder. The other one he played 2 defensive midfielders. Then in the final, he didn't play any defensive. He was trying other tasks, but Chelsea's manager then actually just buzzed him up. Tuchel actually defeated him in terms of tactics and everything. So he failed. He failed in that aspect. I will not say he's overtaking, he's doing that. His tactics failed, and it has failed. So he lost.
Okay, that's that. Going back to last season, I think at the Bernabeu they had the game in their hand. Yeah. It was quite obvious. Okay, fine, Manchester City will advance to the final, but he made a mistake. That was my own personal observation, because I sat down, I watched that game, and I did not see any reason why he should have brought off Riyad Mahrez in that game when the best player on the pitch was actually Riyad Mahrez that fateful night. Do you think it's another tactical mistake or overthinking, or it was something that he had to do?
Tactical mistake, but that's Guardiola. Sometimes you feel like he overthinks, sometimes feel like he doesn't. That's the reason I don't really rate him. And again, once his tactic does not work, he does not have another one. Like, he does not improvise. He's all about just holding the ball, possession, tiki-taka, and all of these guys. Then playing ball from flanks, all these crosses and everything. If he's unable to hold ball, he will not be able to play anything. He doesn't improvise. He doesn't have like a plan B or something. Once you can stop him from holding ball, I feel like you can deal with him. Counter-attack works against Manchester City every time. Not one, every time it works. That's the reason Crystal Palace even used to beat them. It works. Crystal Palace counter-attack now. They'll just leave about 2 players at the front. Probably Aziz are at the front. Counter-attack, it works against you every time.
As a manager. Chelsea, the goal for Chelsea, Kai Havertz, in that Champions League final, is actually counter-attack.
So that's just his tactics and everything. I will not actually question his tactics or anything. I just feel like he's not really good enough. Most of the times he has the big teams to coach. He has the players and everything. Look at him in Bayern Munich. He didn't win Champions League, he was just winning league. Hansi Flick came, immediately left, and Hansi Flick won Champions League that next season. As Hansi Flick came, he won it immediately. He won the Champions League. He won almost all their cups. To show you, Guardiola is just overhyped. Let me just put it that way. He's just very overhyped. Let me just put it that way. He has all the players. Look at the kind of players he has now, and he's actually a very lucky coach, because anything he wants, they give him to him. Yeah. They give it to him, anything he wants. Okay, take. You want side? Oh yeah, take. Sign everybody and everything. So I feel like his tactics are not like good enough or something.
All right, now Aviero, moving forward now. They've given him money. He has signed arguably the best striker in the world in Erling Braut Haaland.
Yes.
Isn't it? They've given him another 2 years contract
to 2025.
That means they're still having that hope that he's still the man to give them that illustrious Champions League title. Now he has Haaland. They've given him that contract. Do you think the acquisition of Erling Haaland is that spark he needs to land?
That's what most people have been saying. Okay, he needs a top now and everything. Haaland is very dangerous. He's a robot. He's a very crazy player. He will give you the goals and everything. He has been scoring most of their goals and everything. But if you look at it very well too, without Haaland, Guardiola was still scoring goals. Without Haaland, was still beating teams 5, 6, 7, 4, 5. The only difference now is that they have a top goal scorer. Let me put it that way. They have a top scorer, which is Haaland. Haaland is a beast and everything. But I'll just say something. If I actually expect them to go far again, obviously they're always Champions League favourites because of the kind of squad they have. everybody even expects them to win it and everything. So I actually expect them to enter the finals and win the Champions League this time because of the kind of player. Because ordinary Haaland safe. But if he doesn't win it this time again, just know his name is changing from Pep Guardiola to Pep Fraudiola. He's a big fraud. A big fraud. If he doesn't win it this time, he does not have excuse. Does not have any other excuse.
Okay, let me now ask you this final question. You say you cannot win it. Do they have a chance of winning it?
They have a chance now.
Okay, that means you are actually telling me that they are favourites to win the Champions League.
They've always been favourites.
So if he doesn't win it, it's going to be Fraudiola, not Guardiola.
Fraudiola, no more Guardiola.
Apart from Aviero, well, Guardiola is a Premier League legend, Manchester City legend, but to cap off a very illustrious career as a Manchester City manager, he definitely has to deliver that prestigious
Champions League. Very important.
Will they win it this season? I don't know.
If he doesn't win it this season,
only sit and watch and hope he doesn't bring all his tactical hula-baloos and they won't be against him again. That's how we roll. That's how we're going to end this very special edition on Sportyfied. Don't forget to like our page and subscribe to our YouTube channel to get the very best content in the sporting world. I am Abdulaziz. He is Aviero. Until we see again, au revoir.
Where is your home of sports? Listen, the crazy thing about sport is that there is never a dull moment.
Yes, having uncommon conversations is the end thing here.
Football, tennis,
Formula 1,
UFC, boxing,
athletics, and many more.
They here. If you don't know, they here. If you don't know. Now why we they call them goats?
Sports Simplified.
That's Sportyfied. Who be your goats?